Welcome to The Buff Show on the American Adversaries Radio Network. Matt Buff, your host. Glad to be with you today. Broadcasting today from the studios of JJC Marketing Solutions here in Sanford, Florida. Lovely studio. The kids and I both use it. And speaking of the kids, some of them are going to be joining me later in the show to talk about a bunch of different things, including sports and activities and things that they're missing out on and for why. And we're going to be diving into what really happened in Cooperstown, New York. So much more. But you remember how we told you that the death counts based on the China virus that you see on your TV screens are not completely accurate numbers. Yes, it's sad people die every day. Right now there's somebody out there that has died from cancer. Many somebodies actually died from cancer or heart disease. But because they had COVID, they label it a COVID death, even though it might be just related. Now, when you hear the term related, that's important. Like if you're married, you're related to somebody else. If you're brothers, you're related to somebody else. All right? So when they say COVID-related death, that means it's related to some underlying condition. Now, we've talked about that many times, but the problem is, and it's the same old why, when it comes to why they classify these deaths in this day and age, COVID, because the hospital gets over $10,000 more for funding and for research options because they marked it COVID. That's just the way it is. But the problem when you mark it COVID is the family can't say goodbye to somebody. They have to stay away, even if they just were dying of cancer and had been dying for cancer for a while. Now, once again, we've showed you clips before, but take a look at this clip from a health professional who explains how they classify deaths these days.
I just want to be clear in terms of the definition of people dying of COVID. So the case definition is very simplistic. It means at the time of death, it was a COVID positive diagnosis. So that means that if you were in hospice and had already been given, a few weeks to live, and then you also were found to have COVID, that would be counted as a COVID death. It means that even if you died of a clear alternate cause, but you had COVID at the same time, it's still listed as a COVID death. So everyone who's listed as a COVID death doesn't mean that that was the cause of the death, but they had COVID at the time of death. I hope that's helpful.
And there you have it. Fear is a great way to control the masses. And that's what's been going on. If you heard our podcast earlier this weekend, we talked about the reason for the lockdowns was the overwhelming of hospitals. Well, the hospitals nowhere in the country are being overloaded. They packed it up. The temporary hospitals, they packed them up. They moved the ship out of the port in New York. All the hospitals are actually looking for more work. That's why a lot of the states are opening elective surgeries again, just so the hospitals can stop laying off people. So there you go. That's the reason the death counts are so high. And speaking of fear, the biggest fearmonger in chief is Dr. Anthony Fauci. You can call him Tony, but all hail Dr. Fauci. All hail the seer of seers, the prognosticator of prognosticators. Do I have that right there, Groundhog Day?
The seer of seers, prognosticator of prognosticators.
So there you go. All hail the king of the fraidy cats, old Dr. Fauci, leader of the media lemmings. And, I could go on and on about this guy. And there's millions of articles recently hailing Tony the King, Dr. Fauci the King. Now, we know he was appointed to be a major player on the task force, but when he brought the bad models and the bad projections, that's when he should have been axed, in my opinion. And there's still, you heard Chuck Schumer on the floor, let's have Fauci testify and let him rip. Let it rip, Dr. Fauci. Well, the only thing he's letting rip is a fart right now because he's got no other data to tell us. That's right. He's the face of the pandemic, and it's merchandise, it turns out. Check this out from an article from Vox. From pro-Fauci prayer candles to masks, so you can actually pray to Dr. Fauci. Masks, not Halloween, but Dr. Fauci Halloween mask would be a really cool thing. And then the fans are showing their love of the doctor by buying items with his face on it. So Fauci gear. I wonder how much of those proceeds are going to COVID-19 victims. Probably none. Now, listen to some of these other headlines. It's just crazy. Fauci tells Congress that states face serious consequences if they reopen too quickly. So because of the word of one doctor, we got to say, we're not, okay, why don't you tell us when? But when you ask Dr. Fauci, when they ask him questions like this, well, when is it acceptable to open? Well, that's why we have the CDC guidelines, he says, or I don't know about schools. I don't know about this or that. Well, the states that are reopening mostly are following the silly CDC guidelines. There's no question to that. And then let's keep going here. Fauci warns of colossal deadly mistake. Will Trump listen? That was a headline splashed across the newspaper. Fauci warns of colossal deadly mistake. Will Trump listen? Will he listen to the all-powerful man behind the curtain, Dr. Fauci? Good Lord. Trump's the president. He makes the decision. Fauci is one doctor who doesn't do any surgeries anymore, hasn't for decades, doesn't treat any COVID patients, never will, never has. And he is the voice of reason to the left, to the lemmings in the media and to the scaredy cats staying at home and the people on Facebook with the stay smart, stay at home, stay safe banners on their profiles. Yeah, staying at home has worked out really well. Yeah, it's nearly 70% of deaths are people sheltering in place. Don't let the immune system build up. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid we actually do the correct herd immunity, right, Sweden? For crying out loud. Dr. Fauci is not the end-all, be-all, people. Not at all. Science, by definition, is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. So, experiments are how they get to vaccines and things like that. Experiments also, when you move beyond the triage aspect of a virus spread, experiment scientifically, take a look at the economy, they take a look at the workflow of people, the workforce, and the herd immunity out there in the places of the world, making people safer just by being together. It's pretty amazing. Now, since Dr. Fauci, shocking to some I know, isn't the only doctor out there, he's not the only immunologist. The people that look at immune diseases, the people that look at all kinds of diseases, shouldn't they have a say too? Well, there's other doctors out there that do know how to handle the China flu, based on actually working with patients. Actually working with patients. And here on the Buff Show, we did you the sweet justice of putting together a whole compilation of these doctors. Let's see what they have to say, and think about this. It's a lot different than what Dr. Fauci has to say.
What if the experts are wrong? What if quarantining the healthy doesn't actually save lives? What if wearing a mask in public is not effective? My name is Dr. Jeff Barkey, and I'm here representing thousands of physicians across the country whose voices are being silenced because we don't agree with the mainstream media and the experts who are telling us what to do.
And I say, do we need to still shelter in place? Our answer is emphatically no.
Yes, and that's really the key question, is how to move forward. Well, it's actually good news that the virus spreads widely and without high risk to the vast majority of people. It's in fact, half the people are totally asymptomatic. Now, why is that good news? That's good news because that means that we have a better chance of developing population immunity.
We had 50 to 60 million with the flu, and we had a similar death rate. We always have between 37 and 60,000 deaths in the United States every single year. No pandemic talk, no shelter in place. No shutting down of businesses, no sending doctors home.
I know we're going to have a shit ton of people die. But these people aren't dying from COVID.
Never in the history of this great republic have we quarantined the healthy. Never in the history of this great republic have we told churchgoers that it's illegal for you to exercise your First Amendment right of freedom of religion. Yet at the same time, it's essential to keep pot dispensaries open. Never in the history of this country have we been told that you can't go to church because it's non-essential, but you can go get an abortion because that's essential. Never before in our country have we let criminals out of jail, but we've told you you can't exercise your Second Amendment right and protect yourself by purchasing a firearm. When liquor stores are deemed essential, but your businesses are deemed non-essential, there's something wrong going on. This booklet, the Declaration of Independence and our U.S. Constitution, was never designed to restrain the people. It was designed to restrain the government.
My name is Yvette Lozano. I practice medicine in Dallas, Texas, and have been doing so for the last 20 years. I am an activist, and that began when Obamacare showed up. The reason I'm here today is because I want you to know the truth about this virus. I am currently treating COVID patients in my office. Let's start just with some simple numbers, and we've heard these numbers, but I want you to think about them. 330 million people in the United States of America. 29 million people in the state of Texas. 2 million people in Dallas. 111 dead. Now, when you see those numbers, it kind of shocks you that we could stop society for 111 deaths. Let me explain how they do it. Here is how it is notified to you. 27,000 positive COVID tests, 3,000 recovered, 111 dead. Well, if 3,000 are recovered from 127,000 positive tests, that's 124,000 that have recovered, right? Because we've only got 111 deaths.
These people are routinely ridiculed and disregarded by many people. It's sad because they have good accreditations too. Why should we only listen to one doctor? The almighty Dr. Fauci. Don't forget to get your prayer candle with Fauci's face on it. It's not sacrilegious or anything. We'll be right back on The Buff Show. Stay with us.
Are you sick and tired of worn-out advertising like print? Are you not getting enough results? Well, it's time for a change. More people look at Google and social media for goods and services than anywhere else. With JJC Marketing Solutions, you get the best in online marketing with faster Google rankings, weekly reporting, and social results. You can also get a state-of-the-art website and many other professional third-party profiles on places like Google+. Now is the time to get found where people look the most and grow your business. Visit www.jjcmarketingsolutions.com today.
Welcome back to The Buff Show on the American Adversaries Network on YouTube. Visit AmericanAdversaries.com and click on that YouTube link up at the top. That'll take you right to this show. But we have a big announcement for you. On June 6th, we are launching The Buff Show on AM 950, 94 FM, The Answer of Orlando. That's going to be a great time with all of you. It's going to be awesome. We're already lining up for a great show. Many guests have already booked. It's going to be a fun time. Saturday afternoon at 3 is the start of that show. You can actually sponsor that show. We have 6 spots only for sponsorships. Reach tens of thousands of people and get online too with our live podcasts and these video podcasts that you're seeing right here on The Buff Show. So there you have it. In segment 1, we listened to some other doctors besides Dr. Fauci. And now I want to talk about the shiny new sissy liberal talking point that's out there. Sometimes I do experiments. I go to county pages on Facebook and things like that and I want to see reactions that I get. And when I see a trend, I typically write it down. A trend of everybody having the same answer. There's a source out there somewhere. Oh yeah, it's the liberal media. The new sissy liberal talking point is, if you don't like shutdowns, are you going to let your kids do whatever they want to? If I don't support the government or local governments telling me what to do, am I going to let my kids do whatever they want to? On its face, it's ridiculous. When it comes to teaching kids, right from wrong, that's the parent's job. When it comes to being taught or told what to do by the government, the Constitution says no thanks. All right, you can't do it. And as parents, it is our job to teach our kids right from wrong and impose restrictions if they're going to harm themselves. Well, they say, well, the virus, that could harm you. Yeah, so could anything else. Driving a car, you can get in a car accident, that could harm you. But you're still allowed to drive a car. Going outside for a walk, you might trip and fall and scrape a knee, but it's still your right. And opening a business is the same thing. We have protections in the Constitution. For example, right to assemble, for crying out loud. Right to assemble. Where do we assemble at? Churches, rallies, sports games, and things like that, and they're all being told no. Unbelievable. The government's job is to stay out of our way. Health codes are not to interfere with civil liberties. Health codes, like in a restaurant, for example, they can't shut down the restaurant because the restaurant down the street has a rat problem. All right? Civil liberties are interesting. Remember a group called the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union? They're gone. They disappeared. Right now they're fighting to get people out of prison and Planned Parenthood open. They want to get people that are dangerous out on the streets and keep Planned Parenthood open. That is the only thing that the ACLU is fighting for at this point. Don't take my word for it. Look on their website. Google ACLU and you'll see it. They are proudly announcing how many cases they have out there to get prisoners out of prison and Planned Parenthood opens. So the power-hungry local officials are not your parents. And the civil ACLU knows that, but they don't care. First of all, the government doesn't know you, doesn't love you, and doesn't know what's best for you as an individual. Your parents do. Power-hungry local officials are not your parents. Is local government going to take you to a ball game? Nope, but they shut down ball fields. Are they going to take you out for dinner? Nope, but they shut down the restaurants. Just recently, and I got reports about this, and we're checking the sources. I heard this just the other day. A baseball coach of young kids, we're talking 7, 8, 9-year-olds in Seminole County, was arrested for holding a practice on the fields. Some police officers are very cool. They're like, this is ridiculous. Some understand that orders are not laws, okay? When the CDC in Seminole County and all these other places put out their phase 1 restrictions and orders and things like that, those are not law. They're just telling you what to do. But they're not your parents. Don't let them be. As you know, business owners have been the biggest target, the biggest hit of this pandemic. Walmart, you can wait in line for a little bit and then go in and touch everything that everybody else has. They can operate at 25% capacity, which is, at a typical Walmart, over 75 people, at least. But a salon with its 3 people and a mild temperature check just started opening recently. I appreciate all the people who defied these orders, not laws, because they have to survive. Nobody should be jailed for playing catch with kids, unless they don't know the kids. That would be kind of weird. Nobody should be jailed for opening their salon. Nobody should be jailed for any of this crap, especially since the real criminals are being let out of jail. We got to make room for the guys in the nail salons. We got to make room for the construction team that's building a house and not practicing social distancing. We got to make room, so please let out non-violent drug offenders, like the guy who poisons the entire neighborhood with drugs. Let him out. Please let him out. And I see out there 400-pound people wearing masks. Come on, man. Heart disease and obesity is the biggest killer in this country. You're making it hard. It's already tough for you to breathe when you're that heavy. And then you put a mask on. And you're like doing the Vader thing. I'm not dissing 400-pound people, but you have no business telling me about health concerns. Just saying. It's dripping with irony. It's just, this whole thing right now is an illusion of security. And we want to get into sports and what's going on. So my son, Jordan Buff's going to join me on the next episode here, on the next segment here, sorry. We're going to keep things rolling on this Buff Show. You stay with us. We'll be right back.
I can't do it anymore, Marcus. I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna die. I'm too young to die.
This is our life now. This is our life now, okay? We're gonna go on. It's gonna be fun.
I can't go on, Marcus. I can't do this. I'm gonna die.
Why are you shaking my hand?
I gotta run. I can't go to jail. I can't go to jail, Marcus. I can't.
Calm down.
Oh God, they're coming. They're coming.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Oh no!
Hey, there we go. There we go.
Put your hand on your head, but flat on the ground, not attempt to run.
Oh, hey, Ted.
Oh hey, Marcus. How are you?
Good. We out for a little run?
Hey, yeah, just did 7. Might do another 7. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold you up. Hey, let's grab dinner sometime.
I would love that.
All right.
You, me,
Good
Karen.
seeing you. Absolutely. I mean.
What's your emergency?
Hi, yeah. I got a couple handshakers right in front of me.
Okay, sir, are they still in the vicinity?
Yeah, I'm staring at them right now.
Run.
Welcome back to the Buff Show on the American Adversaries Radio Network. As you can see, I'm joined by my son, Jordan Buff. We had a little technical issue with one of the mics, so we have to share one, but nobody seems to care. They can kind of still see us, right?
Yeah, it's, we're still working at everything here with the studio, but, we'll make it work.
It's a work in progress.
Yes.
And it'll get better and better. We're missing just a couple pieces.
Just a couple pieces.
Just a couple little pieces.
Yeah.
So I brought Jordan on today to talk about some sports because in the first couple segments, you heard me talking about the country and the economy and how the government's not our parents, but I'm the parent to this guy, and I really enjoy watching his lacrosse games.
Yeah, well, there's not a crazy amount to enjoy when we're watching our lacrosse games, but,
Well, we'll get back to lacrosse as soon as the school year starts up, and then maybe some summer programs.
If the school year starts.
You had better, or there's going to be riots. So, Jordan, tell me NASCAR, okay? NASCAR started up on Sunday.
Yeah.
If you ask me, NASCAR is a sport that you don't need to have fans there.
Definitely not. When NASCAR said it was opening up, I don't think a lot of people knew about it because no one really cares. But, it's a step in the right direction, Like Japanese baseball started up. No one cares, but step in the right direction.
Weren't they showing Japanese baseball on ESPN like late at night?
Yeah.
And Korean baseball too.
Yeah, and they got views because people need something to watch, you know?
There's a guy that lives in our neighborhood that has like 7 TVs in his garage.
Yeah.
The major sports betting guy. I mean, he's sitting around moping in his driveway right now.
Very depressing.
I looked in there and he had 1 TV on and it was like the Real Housewives of something. The guy's got nothing to watch. I mean, people need their sports, but also sports feed off fans, Jordan. Last time you were on the show, we did a segment where we talked about Stone Cold Steve Austin doing a hell yeah to an empty arena. And then he repeated it. I said, give me a hell yeah. And you can't have, what are your top sports that have to have fans? And what after NASCAR doesn't need fans? Like bowling doesn't need fans.
Bowling does not need fans. But, my top, it's like, I think football has got to be one of those top ones because home field advantage is such an important part of this.
The 12th man, baby.
Yeah, it's just, that's important. I would say basketball, especially college basketball, when you're watching, the tournament and you see the crowd going crazy, that's half the fun, And it's just, I think all sports, besides, like a few exceptions, just, benefits so much from fans and, you need them.
Well, like when you talk about important games.
Yeah.
Baseball, Game 7 of the World Series. That home field advantage matters. A pitcher is out there, Jordan, and it's him by himself.
Yeah.
And 70,000 screaming fans. That makes a difference. If they're not having fans in football and baseball, the sports diminish. So we say there should be fans. If you're sick, you shouldn't go to the games.
Yeah, just like with anything.
A couple temperature checks on the way in, and we're good.
And just, it's just funny. But it's funny because like.
So sorry, somebody opened the door behind us. It's kind of scared us a little bit. When you get in the show mode, outside noises really bother you.
Yeah. But it's just funny. Everybody's freaking out over something that cures 98% of the people. And I read something. People the age of 24 and under have a higher chance of dying by lightning than dying from COVID. So, and we're shutting down everything. Like, why are schools being shut down when everybody who goes to school isn't going to die from it? Or I could have it right now and I wouldn't know because it doesn't affect me. So it's funny.
Yeah, well, what they say at the CDC is we're worried about you giving it to other people. Well, you know what I say? If somebody out there is worried about you giving them the virus, they shouldn't be there anyway.
Exactly. You should have the freedom to say, hey, if you don't want to go out places, you don't have to go out places.
You don't have to go out to places.
Yeah, but if you want to, you should be able to.
If you want to watch bowling, you should be able to watch bowling.
Right to watch bowling if you want to.
It's in the First Amendment to the Constitution, freedom to assemble. They didn't say unless there's a China virus. Yes, herd immunity works, and herds at games works too because it really affects the way they play. What do you think of all the sports, right? We talked about pitchers in baseball.
Yeah.
The most, not stressful, but the most pressure on a player. When you go to football, it's that quarterback.
Yeah.
Baseball, it's the pitcher. In hockey, who cares? In soccer, who cares? I don't care about hockey or soccer.
No one cares.
Fans love soccer, though.
Yeah.
Can you imagine shutting down a soccer? I mean, who's going to tear down the stands and burn the place to the ground if there's no soccer fans there?
Yeah,
It's just going to be peaceful, and that's not a fun soccer game. A peaceful soccer game? That's not fun.
Weird. You're watching football, you see Patrick Mahomes throw a 60-yard touchdown in silence. It would be odd. It would be odd.
Talk about Patrick Mahomes. You're wearing the Super Bowl champion hat for the Kansas City Chiefs without fans in the stands. They don't come back like that because Mahomes was on the sidelines getting the fans riled up, and the players and the fans, and they feed off that. They always have. Your brother's coming on next, and he's a pitcher. You two, both of you play high pressure positions. The goalie here in lacrosse, everything's on you when that little round ball that's as hard as a baseball is coming at you 1,000 miles an hour. That's tough. And then Jacob, your brother, is a pitcher, and he's had tournaments where he's had a bunch of fans out there cheering him on. We'll ask him about that. But You even in high school and in youth sports, you guys feed off the parents and stuff.
Yeah, it's just.
And you like when your grandparents and stuff come.
Yeah, it's so important. People just don't realize how important the environment of a game is, but it's crazy.
Well, we got to get it back. This is stupid. Hiding inside the house is a real killer.
Yeah.
Immune systems. Why do you think Florida? Florida has such a low death rate, and we know the death rate is BS anyway, but we know that it's low, even though we have way more older people and we have more population than even New York.
Yeah.
But we have sun and sand and salt water, baby.
Yeah. It's funny, 66% of transmissions of the COVID disease are in the house. So why are we extending in-house? It just makes no sense.
Oh, that's where the COVID is? Maybe you guys should stay there indefinitely.
Yeah.
There's states out there still on lockdown, which is dumb. But like Governor DeSantis keeps talking about the WWE and the pro sports, and he wants that revenue here, but he keeps forgetting to mention the youth sports. Yeah. Like they should say with the county, right? With Seminole County. Am I boring you? No. You just yawned. He yawned on the show. Is that what you guys are doing out there, yawning? He said, my idea. And I want to get your thoughts on this. For the summer, they should, once we reach that phase 2 of the reopening, I'll allow you to do this and I allow you to do that. Kings! They're not. But they should allow, like your school districts, to play like they do in travel ball. They should have a tournament with all of you schools with double elimination, and it's district by district by district. Yeah. And if you don't want the old grandparents there, fine. But everybody else is not susceptible to this thing. Yeah, what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think everything should just open and be like, hey, if you don't want to come, you don't have to come.
But now we got to make it up. We got to make it up to your lacrosse team. Yeah. That's why I say we do those summer tournaments just with the districts, bust out the uniforms and everything. So we'll get on this with the Seminole County. Jordan, thank you very much for stopping by, man. We got to get your brother on. So you guys stay with us. And then my last question, the Chiefs going to repeat?
Definitely. Guaranteed repeat.
Guaranteed. You heard it here first. Yeah. All right, we'll be right back on The Buff Show.
Clear the mechanism. Hello, Mike.
Welcome back to The Buff Show on the American Adversaries Radio Network for our final segment. It's been a lot of fun. I talked to Jordan, my oldest son, and now I go to the middle son, Jacob Buff here. We talked to... Hi there, Jacob. How you doing today, buddy?
Good.
All right, glad to hear it. Now, you're about to go to practice, which is nice, pitching lessons. Do fans matter to you when you're pitching, or is it not a big deal because you block them out? How do you treat fans in the stands when you're playing?
I mean, like, it kind of depends on the game. But it's just like that movie, I forgot what it's called, but like it's where the guy just like cleared out all the noise.
For the love of the game.
Just have fun up there and just do what your coaches teach you and just be yourself up there.
Well, absolutely. What do you think about the idea to let the county's school systems have summer tournaments now because they lost their season in high school?
Yeah, because especially at young ages, we need somewhere to play. So,
Why is it important for you to play sports?
because me playing sports, it's not fun just sitting at home all day playing video games, I think that's lazy in my opinion, just staying home. But I think playing sports will make you active, live a successful life, and be a good person.
Well, you were slated to go to Cooperstown this year.
Yeah, I'm very mad about that. Everyone was super excited to go, and
This is a tough subject for Jake and I. For those of you who don't know, Cooperstown, New York is home to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And every year, 12-year-old teams go up to Cooperstown for tournaments. But this year, they canceled them because of the COVID. They canceled the tournaments, and yet we still haven't got our money back, Cooperstown, for this. And the plane tickets were already booked, and the hotels were already booked, and your team was already paid all their dues. Yeah. You guys were ready to go. And I posted on my Facebook page. Now, Cooperstown is in Otsego County, New York. All right? And they said the reason, first of all, let me get back to what I posted. I posted on my Facebook page back in April that this is ridiculous. They should have never canceled it. This tournament doesn't happen until June. This thing will be long behind us by then. And a lot of people said I was crazy. They thought there was going to be millions of deaths from the virus, and it's just not the case. Otsego County, to date, has had 4 deaths. And not because of just the COVID virus, but because they were already sick. Do you realize sometimes people are sick from other things?
Yeah.
It happens it's a sad part of life. It really is.
And cancer, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the stuff that actually hurts more than COVID.
Indeed. And you're exactly right, Jake. First of all, Cooperstown is one of 39 counties in New York with fewer than 9 deaths from the China virus. Yet they're not hosting tournaments. Their reason was that they were going to have to use all the barracks they usually house the players in. They said they were going to have to use the barracks to hold patients. Now, just to give you an idea, Cooperstown is 198 miles away from New York City, where there is a problem because they all live up on top of each other. But it's 198 miles away, and in between them and New York City are plenty of counties not hardly affected at all. Like I said, this wouldn't be a problem. His specific tournament isn't until the end of June. And they're already stepping into what they call phase 1 in that county, which means they're reopening things. And there has not been one patient housed in Cooperstown. Now, let me get to the other point, because you heard Jake say why it's important for kids to be outside, because you don't want to get big and watch video games and get lazy. But it's important to be active and get sunshine and do that thing. That's why kids typically don't have a problem. So taking away these tournaments for kids is a terrible thing. This guy will never be able to play in a Cooperstown tournament because it's only for 12-year-olds. It's a shame that they jumped the gun on this, because everybody listening to these models that said this mass death and destruction simply hasn't happened. And so what we're going to do is make it up with another tournament, maybe go to Myrtle Beach or something like that. Yeah. Some state that allows kids to play baseball again.
Well, like, it's funny because the players on the baseball field are already 6 feet apart. It's not really hard to get the COVID on the baseball field.
And when you talk to your catcher, you usually have your glove over your face because you don't want the other team to hear what you're saying anyway.
Exactly.
And the catcher's already masked up, isn't he? Come on, guys. The outfielders are at least 20, 30 feet apart.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Nope.
And the fans don't even like sitting together anyway. People bring their tents and stuff, like sitting by themselves.
Yep.
You got to open baseball. Well, Jake, any final thoughts about are you excited to get back out there? You're starting lessons again, which is great. Any final thoughts about the future, how we should handle things like this?
Just if you do if you are sick or something, just do not go to places. If you're feeling fine, checking your temperature every morning at least once. Washing your hands, and you should be safe. All right. There is no need to wear a mask. Just just be safe. That's really it.
Well, that's very good. I can't even top that. That's awesome, Jacob. Thanks for joining me on the show. You guys stay smart out there. We'll see you next time on The Buff Show.